spinning. It actually works. Hey, good morning. Sunday morning and getting going. Thought there was supposed to be a line of showers coming through this morning, looking at the radar, but apparently it fizzled. All right, so we're down in the shop, or at least I'm down here. Dad will make his way down a little bit. Couple little things we want to look at. We potentially are gonna finish that guy up. So what we got was this guy. So this is not the same brand. It's made by a different brand, and it has a different connection than what we had. But we're gonna see if we can make it work, because we had a similar one that rode on the inside. You can see where the ball ran. But what we need to do is adapt it so that it adapts to that connection there. All right, so we've been working on little odds and ends for a little bit. We did what we're gonna call finished on the broadcast spreader. So we kind of blended the old and the new. We took that pivot point off the old one and actually welded it. Took those two legs on the new one and crimped them together. Dad welded them on there. Seems to pivot nice. It does, as you spin it, it does kind of, the wheel kind of floats up and down a little bit because of those two pivot points. I don't ultimately think it's going to be an issue, because I do remember when that thing is full with the auger, I mean, you know, with the agitator, it was a similar agitator to what we have now. Hey, how's it going? Welcome back to Ohrmundt Simmentals. This is Chris. All right, it is Monday afternoon. It was supposed to rain tomorrow. Now it's not supposed to rain tomorrow. Slight chance on Wednesday. Thursday, Friday, good. So we're just saying F it. We're going to start cutting some hay. Dad's going to get the 29 and the disc spine. We don't have to do anything to either of those two other than we got to fuel up the 29. And then we're going to head across the road and cut the neighbors and get that one out of the way. And then probably tomorrow, Dad's going to head up on the hill to one of our better fields that unfortunately is really thick, really tall, but is kind of lodged over. So Dad said it'll be a little bit interesting. Now I am debating if I should try and put the drag away or pull out the broadcast spreader. I'm torn. I think I'm gonna go play with the broadcast spreader. So all we need to do now is get this guy onto here. Yeah, I'll probably back up to get on there, but first thing, I'll probably try and get these back on those 6x6 blocks. Getting this thing raised up 6 inches, 6-7 inches really does help it out. I also need to look for a top link. All right, we got her spinning. It actually works. And this is barely a tick above idle. Hey, how's it going? Tuesday afternoon. What I'm going to do, I'm going to jump on the Mahindra and hook up that spreader, and I think I'm going to go try and do my spreading, because I'm guessing Dad's going to be cutting for a little while. I don't have any pressing issues to do today, because I also don't know if I need to hook up the rake or hook up the tedder, so I'm not going to hook up either. But yeah, I think I'm going to do that spreading, get some oats. We've got some oat seed left. We've got some oats orchard rye mix. Maybe I'll throw a little bit of the Timothy in there, a little bit of other stuff. Throw it for like, I don't know, like just 10-20 pounds to the acre, just to get something out there. And then I got to come up with something to kind of drag it out. I don't want to try and finagle our big drag out there, because I think that'll just be more of a show than anything else. But yes, I am going to use the Mahindra. I know I hooked it up yesterday to the 2030, but the 2030 needed to get down there anyways. because of getting ready to either ted or rake. But gonna use the Mahindra just because it has a little nicer PTO in and out. The PTO on the 2030 is a little goofy. So we got her hooked up. Got this end to adjust. That end is solid. So it's not like this thing's gonna tip out. Yeah, that can pivot, but the most it can pivot is where it's at. As far as setting goes, no freaking idea. That's the one thing that we have struggled with the entire time we have owned this spreader. And the only reason we kind of struggled with it is because it doesn't make any sense. It gives you a chart, it gives you a chart here. And it's the same charts. There's the same charts in the book. But what you have is two levers. Okay? You have a top and a bottom. So I can split them like that. And there's the multiple. I can't open any further because of the tire. But you can see where that's opening. But you see how the kidney shape is there. We have one plate that will pivot out this way, and then you have another plate that'll pivot this way. So it adjusts the size of your hole. But what we never could understand was it'll say, all across here, it says like 3.3, 4.4, 5.5, for your different volumes or whatever. Well, when you look at here, okay, well, is that like 2 on this side of 0 and then 2 on this side of 0? Or both handles at 2 on this side and not on this side? Because this side only goes to 8. This side goes to 24. That's the confusing part. We've always assumed that you keep them together like that. Okay. Now that's assuming. Now that spot right there, so that would be like 7.7. 7.7 on oats isn't a setting. 8.8. Let's do that. So 8.8 on oats is like 100 pounds to the acre. Okay. Well, now it's going to be hard to see, but you can see maybe where that is actuating, how big that hole might be. Like it's 1.5 inches. The slot's 1.5 inches wide, but that's going to be like a 2.5 inch long slot. Now, yes, that is 100 pounds to the acre, but it's like, is that right or not? So what we're going to do is I'm just going to set it to a hole size that looks appropriate. And we're just going to go out there and spread a little bit. And then I'll just look at the spread pattern, like how much seed is in a given area. And I'll just roll with it. I just want to get some seed on the ground. That's it. We're at the one really, really bad spot. So this has been 2 weeks, I think, 1.5 to 2 weeks since they've been on here. And nothing has happened. You get a couple of spears popping through. That's just a testament to how bad this was. I can't remember the name of the channel, but there was another channel. The guy ran into the same type of thing. We do a similar grazing system, and he ran into the same thing because there was so much water. And because there was so much water out here, it just chewed it up. I do size the paddocks so we only move them every other day. That's the whole point. But if you remember, this stuff went from waist to belly button high grass to this in less than 48 hours. And even after 24 hours, I could still look out there and see that there was still grass. Because if you look out and you can't see their nose, you still got grass out there. They're still nibbling through grass. So that's kind of a nice gauge. It is what it is, and we're going to try and fix it. Maybe not in the short term. In the short term, it's going to be a lot of quick moves. Setting wise, I just want to do about like 30 pounds to the acre, which for oats, 30 pounds to the acre was like 5.5. So that looks to be like a 1.5 by 1.5 inch hole. I'm going to start with that and see what it does. So what am I going to do for a mix? I've got 100 pounds of straight oats. here, 100 pounds of straight oats. I've got about 30 pounds, 40 pounds of an oats, ryegrass, and orchard grass mix. And then this is all Timothy and clover. I'm not going to use all that. I'm going to put some in, but not a lot. So I'm going to dump one of these in, dump half of that in, a little bit of that, a little bit of that, dump the last one in, finish that, a little more of that, finish that, call it good. Make sense? And then we'll let that little agitator do what it does and spread it out. I'll do a couple of quick passes around this chunk. If anything's going to get spread thick, it's going to be out here. All right, all loaded up. So turned out to be a pretty good pile, and I'm not worried too much about how well it's mixed, because bouncing around, these things bounce around so much, and with the agitator in the middle, that'll get it spun up pretty good. So let's throw some stuff on the ground and see what it looks like. I will say, at minimum, it runs really smooth. Like, I don't remember it ever running so smooth. So, there's that. But looking at the ground, I mean, this is actually pretty darn good coverage. If you look at how much seed is actually here, that's not bad at all. And that didn't even... I might have just ticked up the RPM right here. See, the saving grace is you start getting these cracks here, and then you start getting stuff that'll grow up in these cracks. You know, but we still would want to come out and try and incorporate this somehow. You know, even if it's just coming along and scratching the ground, get just a little bit of dirt on top of it. But I think we're gonna run with this setting. So this is actually spreading really well, and the spreader is actually working really well. Like, I'm mildly shocked it's working this well. The last time we used this, even the shutoff arm, you had to hold it closed with a bungee cord, and then hold it open with a bungee cord. It didn't work so well. But even just the noise from it actually operating is nothing. It sounds really good. So that's what happens when you get to that level with the agitator, is it sits and stirs. You don't want to sit around too long though, because that little seed will kind of get itself worked down in there and come out sooner. And then it's empty. Got a little bit of residue down on the bottom. As you can see, that tannish stuff, real fine, almost looks like sand. That's just the dust that gets pushed off to the side. So, it is what it is. We'll wash that out when we get back to the farm. But I'll have to let Dad know that the repair on the broadcast spreader was like a total success, because it runs as good or better than I can ever remember it. So washing this guy out, I don't need a pressure washer for this one. Basically what I'll do, oh, that actually did stay. Kind of forgot a step. Is crank this hole wide open. Hopefully you can see that. So it's so large now that the actual closing wheel doesn't actually cover the whole thing. I think we did kind of tweak it a little bit when we put it in there. It might have rotated just a little bit. So we're not exactly where we were before, but I do think the setting I had it on was pretty darn close, because I bet you I covered maybe 2 acres. And there you go, clean. It's a lot easier to clean this guy when it's seed versus when it's fertilizer. Fertilizer, you want to definitely make sure it is clean, maybe a little bit of light oil after you're done. But the other cool thing is that that bottom is stainless steel, along with all the discs that close it and adjust that hole, that seed hole, are all stainless steel also. So to have the new bottom be stainless, that's pretty nice too. Hey, how's it going? All right, so steers are fed, and got to throw a little gas in the four-wheeler, but we got to let those cows into that back section. They are ready. They were heading down to the creek to get some water. So now they're kind of figuring out how they get out of the water, because the bank on one side is a little bit steeper. But they're coming. Ambas! Let's go, girls! Ambas! They're coming. Some of the girls that remember where I'm going started hoofing it. Once they realized what was going on, they shifted gears. And it's not like they're starving by any means. But once I can get a crew going down this lane, everybody kind of knows what's going on. And now they may come right up to me and just start screaming. Hopefully they don't. I mean, there's a lot of grass here, but some of it isn't the greatest, again, because it is a little older. But there is a lot of clover. Like, there's a lot of nice clover that's down underneath. You know, and there's a bunch of this Timothy back here, and then they're gonna love that marsh grass that's over there. A lot of leafy stuff on there. But the fly pressure definitely has lightened a little bit, so they don't look too bad. So my thought now is, what do I want to try and set up to try and work that soil in? All right, so I think I got everything set the way I want it, at least pretty close. So this is what it looks like. Just a bunch of lag screws, those 2 eyes. So I got something to hook onto. And yeah, I think I'll probably use those meat hooks with the toe straps, and that board's plenty heavy enough. I'm guessing it should at least scratch stuff up a little bit. All right, so we're out here noticing the ground is definitely starting to firm up. But here, this is basically all I'm doing. I just have to go slow and make sure stuff like this doesn't get like snagged. And then hooking around the ball hitch though. That kind of sucks. All right, I'm gonna keep trying it. I thought this thing would be heavy enough. All right, after 5 minutes, it's not working. It's not going to work. It's too light, and honestly, I was kind of thinking the ground would still be pretty soft, but this top is really crusted over. So let's head back, and maybe we'll start looking at bringing that other drag down here with the Mahindra. I got her over the culvert. We got her out here. That was not fun to roll over that, but just went really, really slow. So unlike thatching, and I'm gonna have to take a look at this as I go, I want to do a little bit more than just scratch. And some of this drag is really loose. Some of this drag is there's a little bit that's pretty tight on this, but there is some stuff on this drag that is just loosey goosey. So this has actually been working okay. The spot I'm on now, which is that high area that I mentioned in my video that has the ditch right next to it. So right in here is the ditch, and then you come up, and then this is the high spot. This I only have to go through maybe once, twice if I really want to. Over there, I was going through that really hard stuff twice. This area, I didn't seed it down, but there's definitely some damage in here and a lot of manure pads. So I figured I would go through it, because if anything, I'm thatching up. Yes, I'm loosening up the matter, the dry matter that was left, that was trampled, but I'm also just moving it around and letting the ground breathe a little bit. Because right now I want to maximize, if there's anything under that thatch, if it can come through, let it come through sooner than later. And plus I'm transferring some of that thatch onto the bare soil. Over here there's still cover on the soil. In some of these really muddy spots there's not. So getting some of that thatch on there is definitely a help. So hopefully this helped. At minimum, it did nothing. At minimum, it did nothing. I don't think it hurt anything. So, but what I'm going to do now, well, one, I'm going to crawl this sucker back over the culvert, and then I'm actually going to set this back down, and I'll run this drag through this alleyway. Trying to rig up the drag here so I can pick it up and put it away. The spot where we put it, you have to actually pick it up and put it in there. Otherwise you would have, there's no spot to drive in and get out. You know, it's kind of back in a cubby back there. I love it when a plan comes together. Got her with a nice 4-point pickup. It's actually nice and level. It's better than I thought it'd be. So yeah, that's what you got to do to move this thing around if you can't drag it. So now, let's go stick it in its new home. Totally all shut through. 100% total. And yeah, it looks like I kind of set it on that tree, but it's a brushy tree. It's not an actual, like, hey, let's keep it around tree. So, whatever. But that's where we put that thing. And that's how we do it. So, that's enough for today. I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Baling hay tomorrow.